In the fall of 2007, the United States military was hunting high-value targets deep inside Iraq's Al-Anbar province. Navy SEAL Jason Redman and his team were tracking an al-Qaeda cell leader. As they pushed through a stretch of thick vegetation in the dark, they stepped directly into a hidden ambush. 2 enemy machine guns opened fire from point-blank range. A burst of rounds bypassed Redman's body armor. Bullets tore into his lower bicep and forearm, shattering the bone and destroying his elbow. He felt a violent shock travel up his arm, like being struck by a lightning bolt and a baseball bat at the exact same time. Take a look at this 3D medical model of the damage that followed. As he turned to seek cover, another machine gun round caught him from behind. You can see the trajectory here, entering right in front of his ear, traveling through his face, and exiting his nose. The bullet vaporized his orbital floor and shattered his jaw all the way to the chin. The impact knocked him out cold. When his eyes finally opened, he was lying flat on his back in the dirt, completely immobilized. Directly above him, machine gun tracer rounds were streaking across the night sky like glowing laser beams. The gunfight was happening directly over his body. Biological baseline responses to this level of trauma are well documented. When the human body experiences catastrophic facial and arterial destruction, the brain typically triggers severe systemic shock, overwhelming panic, or total cognitive shutdown. Redman bypassed these responses. He reached up, felt the opening in his face, and began logically assessing his medevac timeline. He waited for his team to win the immediate firefight, and then he physically stood up and walked himself to the helicopter, holding his face together the entire time. This leaves a biological mystery. A human brain is wired to panic when it is being destroyed. We need to look at exactly how an individual manually overrides their own baseline survival instincts to process complex information perfectly under catastrophic conditions. The answer starts on the beaches of Coronado, California. Before a SEAL ever sees combat, they are subjected to a training baseline designed to break their mind before their muscles actually fail. The peak of this process is Hell Week. Candidates are submerged in freezing water to induce mild hypothermia. They carry sand-filled 400-pound rubber boats on their heads for an estimated 200 miles, resulting in raw, chafed skin across their entire bodies. This chart tracks a 5-day timeline of that exact week. The downward line shows total sleep dropping to just 3 hours for the entire week. In response, cognitive impairment spikes. Candidates begin hallucinating fences in the middle of the ocean, and their bodies enter involuntary microsleeps while actively running down the beach. The military does not do this to build muscle. This simulated chaos forces a candidate's brain to compartmentalize intense fear and pain. They are required to rapidly process complex information, while their immediate environment is actively trying to kill them. For those who survive Hell Week, the experience demonstrates that the brain's internal instinct to stop is a signal that can be ignored for much longer than most people realize. We can map that exact psychological architecture back to the dirt in Iraq. Lying under the tracer fire, bleeding out from a shattered skull, Redman felt an overwhelming, crushing fatigue. His body demanded that he shut his eyes. The biological urge to simply go to sleep was immense, but his training intervened. He calculated that succumbing to that specific urge meant his heart would stop and he would never wake up. He manually forced his consciousness to hold on by pulling specific psychological levers. He focused on his anger at the enemy. He leaned on his faith, and he locked on to the memory of his wife and kids. He used those anchors to stay awake while his team called in danger-close airstrikes directly onto their own position. He survived because he executed a pre-programmed framework. When standard biological responses failed, his overcome mindset activated and took the wheel. Redman eventually woke up in a stateside hospital room. The physical gunfight was over, but a new psychological war was starting. His face was severely disfigured, and doctors were preparing to amputate his shattered arm. He faced a completely different kind of enemy here, the loss of his identity as an elite warrior and the presence of pity. Visitors and medical staff came in feeling sorry for him, and for a moment he began feeling sorry for himself. To stop that psychological rot, he wrote out a warning and hung it outside his hospital door. It was a bright orange sign with a clear mandate. It read, Attention to all who enter here. If you are coming into this room with sadness or sorrow, don't bother. It demanded an environment of intense optimism and stated he would make a 100% physical recovery and then push 20% further through sheer mental tenacity. That sign became his personal manifesto, and the stance he took in that hospital room quickly echoed out of the ward and up to the highest levels of American leadership. Then Secretary of Defense Robert Gates cited Redman's attitude in his writings, pointing to the sign as a case study in maintaining individual agency under pressure. First Lady Michelle Obama was moved by the psychological stance, writing about it twice and sending a handwritten note honoring the power of his mindset. He kept his arm. He fully recovered. Lying in the dirt, the high-level objectives of the U.S. military didn't sustain him. He was held together by a singular, personal drive to return to his family. Redman's approach provides a framework for managing any form of catastrophic failure, shifting the focus from the trauma itself to the deliberate choice to endure. It leaves us with a single question to answer. When disaster strikes, what will the sign on your door say?